Hello folks, this is Bob at Serenity Hill. Thanks for stopping by, checking out our videos. Hope you're having a good day. Purpose of this video is I'm going to do a little tutorial, a little instruction. This is how I do the mortar that goes in the walls. And just thought I'd show you some of my setup and show you how I mix the mortar and how you can tell when you got your mortar, if it's too dry, if it's just right, and you're ready to go. So off we go. Okay, the first thing is, this is what my mortar consists of. And I wrote it on a board here. It's on the wall right behind where I'm mixing my mortar. But this is the recipe that I use, and it's an adaptation of a recipe that you find in the Richard Flatau's book, Cordwood Practices. But I use 2 cement. I was using about 1.5 of Portland cement, but the Menards that I was using got to where they weren't carrying that for about 2 months. They didn't have any Portland, but they had Type S Masonry Cement, so I started using it. It's got a little bit, it's got some lime in it, so I went from using 1.5 of the Portland to using 2 of the cement, and then 2.5 of a lime instead of 3. I cut the lime down a little bit, and then 2 of a utility or a mason sand, which is a finer sand, and then 4 what they call it Menards all-purpose sand. It's got some actually some little gravel, little pebbles in it, and I use that because this is like $6.99 a bag, and this is $4.99 a bag, so it saves me some money. And then 4 sawdust. That is a softwood sawdust that's soaked. And here's where I keep my materials. I used to keep my materials up here on the floor, but as you can see, I've got that closed off. So I had to drag out a couple pallets. And this is where I keep my materials now. I have to keep it covered because they're out in the open. And this is my mason cement, my lime, and the sand that I use for my mix. And over here is my station. I have just made a little frame out of some scrap wood, and this is what I use for my shavings. And what I'm using right now, I've gone to a local sawmill before and gotten sawdust from it, and it's a real coarse sawdust. Works out great, but they haven't done any pine for a while. All they're doing now is oak, and I bought a bunch of red cedar boards that were rough cut, and I needed to run them through the planer, and this is what I got. So I'm using the red cedar that I got, so it's free. And then just soak it in a 5-gallon bucket, and then I always get leaves falling into it this time of year, and just let it soak overnight, get ready to use. And the way I measure out my materials, I've got this scoop. This is a pet food scoop. It's got 1 quart and 2 quart marks, and I just go up to the 2 quart mark. The important thing isn't necessarily the size of the measurement, it's the ratios that matter. So that's the key. And so I just come here and I'll measure out my 2 cement, and I'm almost at the bottom of the barrel. I'll probably have just enough to get this done. Here's 1. And there's 2. Now, the beauty of this is it's scalable. There are times when I'll do like I'm doing right now, and I just mix 1 batch, which is about as much as I could do on a hot day before it gets too firm to be able to tuck point well. and I can scale it up. I've got my grandson helping me a lot here, and so what I do is I'll scale it up and we'll do a batch and a half or 2 batches. And to do a batch and a half, you just add 50% to whatever, to the mix up there. Double batch, of course, you just double. It's easier. You don't have to do any thinking then. And the crazy thing about this mortar is it starts out gray, but it turns white on you. Okay, there's my half. And I got to open another bag. This is how I do it. Some people collect together a whole bunch of materials. I basically go get what I can carry on a cart. I'll load it down. A typical batch, when I buy 2 bags of mortar, 3 bags of lime, and about 9 bags of sand, it's about 800 pounds on the cart. And that's about all I can pull through Menards to get out to the truck, get it loaded up, and then come home with it. And by the time I get it unloaded and stacked, I'm about done for the day. Okay. I've got my 2.5 of that. And I was doing it, just doing 1 scoop at a time and doing all this walking. And then I realized, I got a bucket. I can fill it. All right. And I got to open my last bag of mason sand. Now, you need to keep your materials as dry as you can, because if they get wet, you don't have to worry too much about the sand. It's going to be fine. But you really don't want to get the cement and the lime wet. But you get materials wet, and then it's real hard to gauge how much water to put in. And this sand's a little damp, so it's going to throw me off a little. So you want to keep your materials good and dry. And my bucket holds 3 scoops comfortably. So I'll do 1 of the general purpose sand. And 3 more. Handle's about to break off. This scoop has been with me through all these walls. And here I am on the next to the last wall section, and it's about to give up on me. I'm going ahead and pull my tarp over, because when I get done, I'll be rinsing my mixer out, and I don't want to get water on my materials. All right, and this is what it looks like when you get the materials in. You just turn the mixer on. And We'll let the dry materials mix for a while. Then after the dry is mixed a little bit, you pour in the cedar. Okay, that's 4 scoops of the cedar. And you can see it starts forming little balls as it's mixing, as the moisture starts mixing in with it. And now it's water, and I add about 1 3/4 water to it. Now, as it's mixing, you can see you've got a lot of small little balls in it, and then you've got one that's starting to be a good sized clump, and that's going to be a little dry. If I pull this out right now, it forms a ball. It forms a ball, but you see the little cracks that it gets in it. You have to really press it to get it to clump up. So I'll spray in some more water. I'll give it a little spray. And then just let that mix in. And what I'm looking for is when I start seeing it clump up more and slough off in big batches like that, big blobs, that's getting about right. When it forms a ball and it'll hold it, but you don't get cracks in it, and it holds its shape. This is good right here. Maybe a little bit wet, but this will work real well for me. All right, so if you're thinking about doing cordwood, I hope that helps. I keep this handy, so in case I forget, I've got it. And if I do happen to forget, I've got it in a note on my phone, because it kind of matters. But at any rate, there you go. You can mix 1 batch, a batch and a half, 2 batches, whatever it takes with your mixer. I've done it by hand. That's why I bought the mixer, because this stuff was a lot stiffer and harder to work with than the bag concrete mix. All right, so all that's left is to carry my mortar inside. And before you walk away from your mixer, make sure you wash it out good until the water runs clear. I like to leave it down so that it will drain. If you do not rinse your mixer out after every batch, I can tell you from experience what happens. Mortar sticks to mortar, and you will end up with 20 pounds of mortar stuck to the inside of your mixer. And the only thing I found that gets it out is a pneumatic hammer on my air compressor. Just an air tool. It's a pneumatic hammer with a chisel-shaped chipping blade, and just get in there and bust it up and get it out. So, yeah, you want to make sure that you rinse your mixer out really, really well after every use. Also, you notice I'm wearing a long sleeve shirt and you got mortar all over it. And gloves, long gloves that come up, probably a good 6-8 inches above the wrist. Reason why I do that is that mortar, it gets on your skin, it will irritate it and leave burns. I've got some scars from the first few batches that I did. I was wearing short sleeve shirt, and it irritated my skin so bad I ended up with sores, and that's not a good thing. You don't want that. So always wear a long sleeve shirt and wear gloves that come well up past your wrist to keep that mortar off of you. And make sure you wash everything when you get done. All right, hope that helps. And like I said, I'll leave the mix that I use. I'll leave that down in the description if you want to refer back to it. Or if not, I would strongly encourage you, if you're building cordwood, buy the book, Richard Flatau's book, Cordwood Construction Best Practices. There's another guy named Rob Roy that also has a really good book. I don't remember the title of it, but Rob Roy and Richard Flatau, they're the ones that wrote the book. That's where I got the formula from. And you can play with a little, adapt it to your area. But hope that helps you on making your mortar. This is Bob at Serenity Hill. Thank you for stopping by, and we will see you on the next one. Bye now.